Kay and George are on vacation
Oh,
today.
I didn't know that. We're all here, so let's call a meeting to order now. Pastor, would you lead us in devotion, please?
Absolutely. So this is coming from Every Moment Holy, Volume 1, Pocket Edition. And here are different kinds of, what would I say? Some are liturgies, some are just prayers. There's fun things in here. There's more serious things. There's like a liturgy for the ritual of morning coffee. There's prayers for those meals eaten alone. All sorts of different stuff, as well as some liturgies for sorrow and lament. I'm actually going to talk about two of them today. First one is liturgy for one battling a destructive desire. Jesus, here I am again, desiring a thing, that were I to indulge in it, would war against my own heart and the hearts of those I love. O Christ, rather let my life be thine. Take my desires, let them be subsumed in still greater desire for you, until there remains no room for these lesser cravings. In the moment I might choose to indulge a fleeting hunger, or I might choose to love you more. Faced with this temptation, I would rather choose you, Jesus, but I am weak, so be my strength. I am shadowed, be my light. I am selfish, unmake me now, and refashion my desires according to the better designs of your love. Given the choice of shame or glory, let me choose glory. Given the choice of this moment or eternity, let me choose in this moment what is eternal. Given the choice of this easy pleasure or the harder road of the cross, give me grace to choose to follow you, knowing that there is nowhere apart from your presence where I might find the peace I long for. No lasting satisfaction apart from your reclamation of my heart. Let me build then, my King, a beautiful thing by long obedience, by the steady progression of small choices that lay end to end will become less like the stones of a pleasing path stretched to eternity, and unto your welcoming arms, and unto the sound of your voice pronouncing the judgment, well done. The second liturgy is a liturgy for those flooded by too much information. In a world so wired and interconnected, our anxious hearts are pummeled by an endless barrage of troubling news. We are deadly aware of more grief, O Lord, than we can rightly consider, of more suffering and scandal than we can respond to, of more hostility, hatred, horror, and injustice than we can engage with compassion. But you, O Jesus, are not disquieted by such news of cruelty and terror and war. You are neither anxious nor overwhelmed. You carry the full weight of the suffering of a broken world when you hung upon the cross, and you carry it still. When the cacophony of universal distress unsettles us, remind us that we are but small and finite creatures, never designed to carry the vast abstractions of great burdens, for our arms are too short and our strength is too small. Justice and mercy, healing and redemption are your great labors. And yes, it is your good pleasure to accomplish such works through your people. But you have never asked any one of us to undertake more than your grace will enable us to fulfill. Guard us, then, from shutting down our empathy or walling off our hearts because of the guilt of unactionable ministries, an actual misery that floods our awareness, who have many children in many places around this globe. Move each of our hearts to compassionately respond to those needs that intersect our actual lives. That in all places your body might be actively addressing the pain and brokenness of this world. Each of us liberated and empowered by your Spirit to fulfill the small part of your redemptive work assigned to us. Give us discernment in the face of troubling news reports. Give us discernment to know when to pray, when to speak out, when to act, and when to simply shut off our screens and our devices and to sit quietly in your presence, casting the burdens of this world upon the strong shoulders of the one who alone is able to bear them up. Amen.
So in Kay's absence, I just started taking notes. I didn't know who was,
She didn't.
yeah, we missed that part.
Does that conclude your
Yes.
devotion? Okay. Who is the acting secretary?
Well,
Stacy just said she was
yes,
doing.
Stacy is.
Pardon me?
Stacy.
Stacy, okay.
Taylor can type them up.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to excuse both George and Kay.
I'll move.
Motion from Pastor, is there a second? Michelle? All in favor of excusing Kay and George, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. It's passed. Okay, correspondence. Did Kay leave you with any correspondence?
There was nothing in our box that came in this past month.
Okay, so we'll say none for that. Has everybody had the opportunity to read the minutes of the last council meeting and also the all committee meeting? And any other report that,
Pastor's report.
pastor's report, yes? Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to approve those minutes of those meetings. Pearl Ann, motions, is there a second? Shirley seconds, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. They are approved. Okay, Stacy, treasurer's report, please.
Yes, 1 second here. Doing double duty. All right. We got cut off. That's no bueno. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did get cut off.
Yeah, when it was emailed out, the formatting of the printer. I'm gonna borrow yours because I can see all the numbers.
Same as yours.
Yeah, but I can see the whole number. Okay, as of the end of June, our general fund checking account balance was $4,409. That was primarily because I had put in the Vanguard funds from the Mission and Education Fund into the checking account, but did not send the checks out until July, so there was a little bit of a buffer.
Well, those checks were over $5,000, weren't they?
That's correct.
Okay, like what, 5,500 or 52?
$5,250 total.
Yeah,
So if I had not done it that way, we would have had a negative balance. I
Right.
would have had to have pulled from the reserve account sooner
Right.
than I did, which I did do in July.
yeah. Do you realize those were scholarship money, checks that we sent out?
All right, so offering income for the month of June was $10,482. You're gonna notice the report looks a little bit different this month. Mark had made a request, which I accommodated and added another column called other income. That other income is income that comes in from hall usage, Amazon Smiles, choice dollars that get directed to the church, all those different types of buckets. So in June, we had $225 in other income. We did budget for that line item at about $485 a month. So total year-to-date income, including both columns, is $78,350, which puts us at 83.1% of our estimated budgeted revenue. Our expenses in the month of June were $14,627, so they were below our monthly budget for that particular month. Year-to-date, we're at $95,781, which puts us at 100.9% of our estimated operating costs. So we're holding pretty true to cost. That 0.9%, you could go back and attribute some of that to Chris's carryover, which was not budgeted for training Jennifer. So we're actually probably a little under budget if I try to extract that out. Any questions on the top half? Okay. If you look at our investment funds, each of our Vanguard funds, which is the first three, they didn't all go up. They went up and down because we pulled money out. So in June, you'll notice mission and education went down. There was growth during the month, but I pulled the $5,250 out, so that offset the growth. The Family Center Fund, it had gone up also, but I pulled the $5,000 out for the Red, White, and Boom sponsorship that we had all agreed to at the last council meeting. Our Capital Improvement Endowment Fund did grow pretty decently in the month of June to $829,996.
What was that?
I don't have it.
I don't have any
number.
You don't have a number?
It's cut off, right?
No, it's blank total.
blank.
No, it's cut off because I got it, $829,996.
Oh, okay.
Mine says both blank in both spots.
Oh,
Mine is
hers
too.
is up at
No,
the
that second capital improvement is the savings fund, not the investment fund.
Yeah, and that grew?
No, the top one,
Oh,
Michelle.
This
oh,
one.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was down here
Okay,
too.
I was wrong place.
Okay.
It's okay. No change in youth missions, no change in abiding memorial. Detroit Street went down a little bit. Sandusky Street, there's a 1 missing in front of that. Don't know why. Okay, it went up a little bit just from the rent. I did pay the property taxes in the month of July though, so that was 2 significant chunks that came out of each of those accounts. And then you can see the reserve account went down a little bit, and I did confirm that was pieces and parts for the waste can gate. Any questions on the bottom part?
Now, in our finance meeting, you did say that you pulled about $3,500 out of that reserve account for July.
That is correct.
Any other questions or comments? As Stacy said, she added that column year-to-date income, so what we're showing now is total income from offerings and miscellaneous and hall rental. It does not include the Sandusky Street rental that we have currently occupied. And so it's showing the year-to-date expense of $95,781 and our year-to-date income $78,350. So we're at a negative $17,431 through half of the year. That means if this continues at this pace, we will be almost a negative $35,000 for the year. Now, we all took an oath to be good leaders and stewards of the church. How does doing nothing fill that oath of being financial stewards?
I don't think we're not doing nothing, we just are waiting to build our skills. It's become a bone of contention for this council. It has caused hard feelings, and we need to be able to work on a relationship as people of a council, mend that brokenness so we can effectively look at this. I don't think we're not doing anything, we just need to heal ourselves.
Didn't agree with that. There's hurt here that needs healing. So, and this is why that council retreat is gonna be helpful.
I'm trying to approach this in a logical, rational way.
I understand.
We're losing $35,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we can discuss things civilly at this meeting or any other meeting. Delaying is just going to make things worse.
Maybe,
Maybe.
It will.
maybe not.
Every month of this year has gotten worse.
We've had this discussion
I
in this
know.
council several times, and we have said that maybe, maybe not. We don't know if it's gonna get better or if it's gonna get worse. We have other possibilities that we need to talk about.
That's a very vague answer.
That's the church.
No,
The church is not a business. It cannot run as a business model. We cannot budget income. We cannot, therefore, really budget expenditures.
we can't ignore the finances of the church, and that's what's happening right now.
So, do you remember when George went to Synod Assembly? And I believe last year when you went to Synod Assembly, you saw the budget of the Synod having a 5-year now deficit, and they're still running just fine. The ELCA also, I believe, runs in somewhat of a deficit, and they're still just fine.
Well, I'm not familiar with the the details of their budgets and their income and expenses. I'm not familiar with that. I am very familiar with what's happening here. And what I'm seeing is our offering income is only about 83% of what was needed. That's a big shortfall.
But this again was numbers based on years past, what we've done, but that is not
Right.
set in stone.
We-
Mark. This is not, we know for sure we're gonna spend this much
We
money.
know our budget, we look at what past expenditures, right?
We do.
And we
We look
kind of,
historical.
we look at historical stuff, and we try to budget historical income. We know, we did it last year, when we set the budget, we know we were gonna fall short, because the budget didn't show that it would cover the expenses.
Let me back up. We don't budget income. When we sit as a finance committee and we budget expenses. The revenue side of the budget for the income statement in Shepherd staff is just set to equal the expenses because we're a not-for-profit.
Okay.
See, you
And then
said
that's
that-
how it's set.
There's the magic words right there. We are a non-profit. We should not be making money. We should not be hoarding money. We should not be bragging, we have $50,000 in our checking account to carry over. We should have faith that God is going to provide for us.
He has.
And He will continue.
He has
So-
given us,
so my-
he's given us minds and hands to work with.
And he's also given us great gifts by these generous donations that we have just put away and invested and not used.
And those are earmarked for expenses we know are coming.
Not
What
this-
expenses?
Not at this amount of expenses. You know, I'm talking about the capital improvement.
Yeah, I
fund. You
do
and
know
I
that.
both have had this discussion.
Yeah, we've
We
had
think
that
the
too.
roof may cost $100,000
Yeah.
to replace. That's still $700,000
That's a
in
new
the account.
church. That's a new church.
Churches, that's at least 3 years worth of our budget
Yeah.
without any offering.
Thing
income.
is, once you've used that money, when it's gone, it's gone.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay? And so what I'm trying to say is we need to take steps to preserve what we have.
that's
Why?
also saying there's no offering income. Obviously, there is. It's 83% of what we estimate
Right.
our budget should be.
Right. I'm not
But that's
denying
not, that's
I'm not
not
denying
zero.
that. It's very clear that the rental income would help us tremendously. And we refuse to take this back to the congregation to get their approval to either sell that property or to rent it. We've put a lot of money and a lot of labor into that property. and we're sitting here doing nothing with it.
We've done nothing, we haven't had the income for over 2 years, and we've done just fine.
Losing 25,000 last year and
I don't
and on
think
pace for 35,000 this
Our
year
lights
is
are
fine.
on, our lights are on, doors were open,
Well,
we're
that's
able
right.
to do
That's right.
ministry just fine without this.
You know, I just can't understand your illogic here. To say
You
that,
call it illogical.
it
I
is
call it
illogic.
fake.
no, it's illogic.
It is.
We are bleeding money.
Mark, it's getting not civil, and we're supposed to be having a civil conversation.
I'm happy to discuss this at the council
No,
retreat,
yeah.
but I'm not gonna discuss this with emotions right now. You don't wanna talk about emotions, you wanna keep it civil, fine. Let's do it at the council retreat where we have the ability to actually let this all out on the table.
What's wrong with here and now?
We don't have a mediator
Uh,
to keep us on task.
we don't need a mediator for this.
I think we do.
Yeah.
We need an outside person who is willing to have and has the expertise in this. I do not have the expertise, and I'm on one side of this argument. It is not fair for me to mediate this.
Well, we're bleeding fast and we're doing nothing.
Not that fast.
Yes,
Not
we are.
that bad. Have you seen the income report for July? The last 2 Sundays that we have had offering. This council report, this treasurer's report only goes through June.
Yeah.
The 2 income reports that have come in for July are not bad.
The first 2 weeks are usually the best.
Wishing for the best is faith, is having faith.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the strategy. Here's the strategy. That we're going to exhaust the reserve account. Then we're going to turn to exhaust the all but $3,000 that's required to stay into the rental property for maintenance purposes. Once those 2 are exhausted, we are going to be in a position where we have to consider using money from endowments that currently prohibit us from using for operating income.
We changed, the
Yes.
church changed that back in the day. We can change it right back to doing that. And it, again, use an endowment, if you wanted to go to a logical business view of how an endowment works, people set up endowments for 2 times the budgeted amount for their yearly budget. We now have 4 times that in just one endowment. And then you use 20% of that 2 times your budget yearly.
But you're ignoring the fact that these endowments are not set up for operating expenses. I don't know how other churches do it. I don't
The
know how,
churches do this. That's
They
how
may-
I paid my internship.
they may do
church
that, but those
paid me with
endowments
an
may have
endowment.
allowed it. Our endowment does not.
We are allowed to change that.
Now, we're allowed to change it, but currently we're not allowed. We're not allowed to use it for operating income.
At this
We
moment.
can change it. We can go to the congregation and say, look, we need, right now, our attendance is low, our income is low. Our mission is not having anything to do with rentals at this point in time. We would like to change this endowment so that we can cover our operating costs. My internship congregation did that.
That
and was
has
able
nothing to do
fine.
with your internship, church.
They paid the bills for
No,
me.
no, but that endowment might have been set up originally with the intent of supporting the operating income. This one is not.
It
It's a
can
circular
change.
argument.
Yeah, it can change, but what if it doesn't? What if the congregation says no?
Then the congregation will die, and that endowment is gonna go straight to the synod.
And they need to know that. They need to know that. If something should happen where we have to close this church,
If they're not willing, if the congregation is not
See, that-
willing to change the endowment in order to maintain this church in its location and it's how we're running it, then it will die.
See, as I said, this is the strategy, that we're going to bleed these accounts down to nothing to force the congregation to say, okay, in order for us to survive, now we have to change the endowments to permit this.
Why even keep the endowments?
Pardon me?
Why keep the endowments?
Why keep the endowment?
Yeah.
Because they're permanent and they serve a purpose.
For what purpose? If the church is gonna close, what's the purpose of it? It's like having a trust fund. If you die and your kids don't have anything, where's the money go?
Let me make one comment. This would not be the first year that we quote, I'm gonna put it in quotes, bleed the rental funds down to the $3,000 minimum. When I started as treasurer, we were hand to mouth every single week where I didn't know if I was gonna be able to make payroll, and there was not enough in the rental properties to pull over to cover the expenses. We are in no different situation now than we were 8 years ago.
Okay, explain to me how cutting the deficit to only 10,000 is the same as having a deficit of 30,000.
It's still a deficit, we're still gonna have to close that
Come
gap.
on,
We're still gonna have to close that gap as well, Mark.
we're talking about a huge difference. A difference of 10,000 versus 30,000.
Okay, you mentioned financial stewardship. It's only 10,000 now instead of 35. How are we gonna close the 10?
We don't know that. But it's a lot easier to
Have
close.
faith.
It's a lot easier to close a gap of 10 than it is of 35.
If you don't have it, 10 and 35 makes no difference in the
Oh,
world.
good grief. I mean, I can't understand your logic.
Well, Mark, it's faith.
No,
Let me finish. Fishes and Loaves is going into their 4th year. And yes, we have gotten some support financially from the church. Very little. How do we keep running? By faith. Faith that God will provide. Faith that we will have funds
is
coming.
your budget $200,000?
I would wish
It
it
doesn't
was.
matter.
It doesn't
It's not.
matter. It doesn't, Mark, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, we are running a mission and getting funding with the faith that God is going to provide for this mission to help those in need. And He is and continues, and I know He will always. I have faith as long as this mission is needed, we will have support.
Why is it okay that we can earn $900 in taking advantage of people to park their cars here to watch the fireworks, and we can earn maybe $3,000 during D-Day week? Well, how is that better, more noble than having a
I
rental
didn't say it
property?
wasn't.
Those funds don't go to the general fund, Mark. They go to
Yes,
the
sir.
outreach.
No, they do not. They don't go to the.
They go to outreach.
They go to
Yeah,
outreach.
outreach.
They do the food pantry, they cover youth missions, they've never gone to the general
We've
fund.
given money, we've given money for.
All right.
Outreach has donated
So,
some
so,
of their
so,
money
so
to
it
the general
supports,
fund.
so it supports outreach.
It
How
also,
is that still more noble than having a rental property where somebody's actually, having housing is a basic need? What's wrong with us? We have the properties. How is it okay for 15 years when it's wrong now?
okay, you want to be more noble, so we have the housing, we keep our houses, and we use it as a halfway house. We give it to somebody who's lost everything in a fire.
Yeah.
Or
What's
the
that?
income goes to a different ministry. That does not have anything to do with us. Not paying our bills. That's where our nobility is not paying our bills for the electric, for the gas, for my salary, for Jennifer's salary, for all the staff salaries. That is how it is not, that is how it is more noble. If we keep rental properties, but that money that comes in goes to other missions. That is not the church. That is not this Good Shepherd Church. That is more noble.
And we're not putting the money into a savings account. None of that income, all that money's been doing is going into a savings account for
Well,
years.
Okay, I've said enough, but I hope you can explain this to the congregation that losing $35,000 a year is okay. When we have the means of reducing that.
Yeah, I can explain it. Absolutely. It's called having faith. It's called having the belief that we exist here for a reason. Our reason right now is to serve Conneaut. Money be damned.
So these churches that fail, they don't have faith?
They are not necessarily called to be there anymore.
Really?
Yep, I believe it.
That-
These churches that closed, there has been, I've received emails almost now once a month from churches in the ELs, in this synod that have done holy closure, and they are better off because they've been closed. Because they do not have overhead to deal with and everything like that. But they are not needed in this location anymore. We are needed in Conneaut as a Lutheran presence here. We'll figure out the money someday. But have faith that God will provide what we need. And God has provided, and we're holding on to it. Right now it's God's work, but we're going to hold on to God's work, not use our hands.
I don't know how, I mean, several of you are mum on this discussion. I don't know where your thoughts are.
Because I think we had agreed that we were gonna wait to express our thoughts either at or after the council retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think I am just too sad about the whole situation. I never, ever thought that I would be in a meeting where we really can't talk. And I'm very sad. This was my church, I'm not sure anymore.
That's a problem.
pardon me?
That's a problem. That's why we wait till council retreat to talk about this.
Yeah.
Not this meeting. We're done. Moving on to the council retreat.
I'm not ready to move on. I'm conducting this meeting, and I'll tell you when we're gonna move on. It's gonna be soon. I'm conducting this meeting.
Respect my position before if you
No.
want my respect, you respect me.
I am conducting this meeting. When I say we'll move on, we'll move on. And we're gonna move on very shortly, but you're not taking charge of this meeting.
I want respect before we move on right now.
I didn't violate your respect.
Excuse me?
No, you are trying to supersede my authority. I'm conducting this meeting.
I have the authority to do this. Move on.
Is there any old business to discuss?
Yes, council retreat. As you can see, it's July 29th, the last Saturday of this month, from 2 to 5:30 at Camp Luther. It'll be conducted by Drew Tucker, Pastor Drew Tucker, Executive Director of Hopewood Outdoors. Just elected to that position, by the way.
Can I interrupt a second?
Yeah,
Did we need to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
yes.
I'm sorry. Brian?
Pearl Ann motions, Michelle seconds. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. It's approved.
Thank you.
So Dr. Drew Tucker is going to be the moderator.
Not quite Dr. Drew Tucker, Reverend Drew Tucker. I think he hasn't quite defended his dissertation yet. But he's almost doctor. He almost Dr. Reverend Drew Tucker. Executive Director of Hopewood Outdoors.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
So facilitating council retreat.
You writing that down?
Hmm?
You writing that down?
Drew Tucker.
Okay.
Well, it's 2 to 5:30 on that Saturday, the 29th. And then also last Sunday in August is the church picnic with a rain date set for the weekend after that. Service beginning at 10 will be outside the whole time. And Jim has agreed to play during that service.
Nice.
Nice. And George just said if we got fish, he'll fight fish.
Oh, we should have fish.
Yeah.
I think that we will.
And we got the hot dogs, we just gotta get the hamburgers, and then Raymond a dish to pass.
There's a few people signed up. We gotta announce a little bit more about signing up to bring a dish. But main course obviously is hamburgers and hot dogs. we'll need drinks and dishes. And
Oh, yeah.
we'll bring the utensils and the
Mhm.
cutlery and everything, but drinks and dishes, the dishes. Mhm.
Any other old business? Is there a report on VBS?
No, I never talked to Amy about that. Apparently it went well, but I haven't talked to Amy about BBS. I haven't seen her since BBS. She's on vacation.
She's
That's
not
right.
very
She went up to camp, out to camp in
That was
the
probably,
Northeast.
probably
that was the beginning
lost
of
in
this.
her suitcase.
Yes.
It was a good 3 days though.
Yep, it looked like it was a lot of fun. I think everybody had a good time. Most of the children were from Corpus Christi, but that's totally cool. And I think it ended up working better in the evening. I would like to see one more day other than just the 3 days, but we'll work on that. This is still recovering from COVID kind of shutdown stuff.
I think the meals went pretty good.
I think so too.
We just make sure we get it out that families are welcome to come.
Michelle, do you want to elaborate on your Goga project?
Okay, well, almost said, we did not make the money that we were expected, that we thought. But that's okay. We were able to, raise $1,300 that went into the, general fund. But what came out of this, two very positive things happened. One is the working together with Corpus Christi. That group of people and us and their willingness and our willingness to work with them on other events is gonna work really well. Two, the positive impact that we put out in this community. Taylor was at work, and you work where?
Starbucks in Concord, so halfway to Cleveland, west.
There was a writer that came to Verve and was talking about us here.
Not the program, the church as a whole, like just the church. He knew about Go months ahead of time. He said he stopped at our church, and he said it was in Conneaut, Ohio. Good, he knows the name. He's gonna come back. Him and his wife want to come back and come here someday. Like they want to come back and see everybody again, and that's like considering how much. Like I can tell you, I've been coming here for 12 years, almost 13. The membership from when I came here at 6 until now obviously has dropped. COVID took a big hit on every church in America. Hearing that people want to come here is really good for me because like I stopped coming for a while because the environment changed. I'm with you. I am. I came back because of you. Because you bring back what there was when I was here when I was 7. And that means a lot to me. And hearing somebody come to me saying they love my church, I haven't heard that since I was a kid.
We are hearing that more often.
Like what you're doing and what you were doing is making a huge difference, and I don't think you guys even realize it. You had me wanting to come back, you've got kids younger than me wanting to come back. And it's just gonna get better. It's gonna get so much better.
Yeah. We didn't make the money we thought, but the love that we put out in the community says so much more.
Far more valuable.
It wasn't supposed to be about making the money,
That's
right?
That's
It wasn't. It would have been nice, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't about making the money. It's who we are as a church, who we are, the people who were there, our love, our welcoming, our openness to strangers. The young man who came in that looked like Jesus, our openness to him, a stranger who walked into this church. We had people that came here at 4th of July. I said, I parked at your church. It was wonderful. You guys are great. It's that kind of stuff we need to be looking at as who we are as a church. And it's being open to the community. We open our doors, we spread love, we spread acceptance. They will come here. They will be here. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be till next year, but they will be here. We have two young people, Taylor and my grandson. Let's be realistic. Out of their confirmation class of 9, they are become active in this church. They are taking ownership of this church. But if we continue to have negative feelings towards each other or to other people in this church, they see it. You see it. She sees it. We're not going to give them back. They're not going to stay here. They're going to go someplace else. We need to be welcoming. We need to be doing things that say, this is who we are, and loving everybody that comes here. So yes, GOBA was a big success as far as I'm concerned. 4th of July party, the positive that we put out there, we are a big success. We're going to do the same thing with D-Day. We open up our doors. They're parking, but they can use our bathroom, they can sit down, they can be cool, they can relax, we're going to be there.
And I also think the sponsorship of Red, White, and Boom Entertainment helped as well. Unfortunately, between
That's it.
Yeah.
between the smoke, allergies, and getting sick, I wasn't there for all 3 days, which was unfortunate. But I know that there were a few people that were saying, thanks for sponsoring us.
I'm starting to work with Corpus Christi. They have a ministry called Matthew 25. They were inviting me to their meetings as of 2 churches, what we can do for the homeless in our community. What can we do, how can we help support each other's food missions? If I have extra, for some reason, people don't like to eat rice.
At least they don't want rice every month.
Right, sometimes I get shipped 50 pounds of rice and I don't know what to do with it. I call up Matthew 25 and say, do you need rice for your soup? Yes. What do you need? What can we do to help you? I would love to see that happen with every church in this community.
You and I got to talk with Russ and with Rusty at the new UCC church.
Yes, we
We're
do.
gonna have a good.
There is so much.
He wants to do a lot what you're talking about at
Good.
UCC. So
Yes. But that's all I want to say. That's all I want to say.
thank you.
Okay, new business.
There was one thing that we've noticed between Jen, Stacy, and myself is we're missing out some communication between what's approved here for purchase orders and writing checks and actually getting a purchase order so that we have some kind of a paper trail. So I'm bringing forward in council that when whoever brings forward anything, such as startup costs for GOBA, such as the sponsorship for Red, White, and Boom, that person needs to talk to Jen to write out a purchase order.
Okay. That's good. We're gonna have to be doing that for.
Yeah, for your first bingo, you're gonna probably need,
Yeah, that's
need
what-
that,
that's-
so
you're not gonna
make sure
wait.
you
I
get a
know who to
purchase
go
order.
to for that.
Yeah. That comes in,
But it's everything.
It's everything. So if we
Especially if
set-
it doesn't come through correspondence that we can give to
right.
Stacy, if
So-
we need a purchase order.
When Pearl name needs change for D-Day, she needs to give you a week's notice so you can get the check to get the change for her for the fish dinner.
So I do checks, and maybe everybody doesn't know this, but 95% of the time I do checks on a Monday. So if you need petty cash on a Friday, don't wait till the Tuesday of that week to tell me. Because then I have to make a special trip in more than likely,
Right.
and I'm super busy with work, so it's nice to be able to do it here. So yeah, a good week's notice, but you gotta catch me on those Mondays.
Okay. That's not a problem. We all got used to walking into the office and saying, Chris,
Yeah,
I need a purchase order. Okay, and it would appear in your mailbox.
yeah, so we're trying to standardize a
I
little
know.
bit of, and it's also a good practice if and when we do have an audit committee, so that we can actually show a paper trail for everything that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because by Senate guidelines, we should be audited on a yearly basis.
When's the last time you were audited?
Not in my tenure in this
It's been a
role,
while.
so over 8 years.
it's been a while.
I mean,
That's
I
one of
mean,
the finance committee, one of the first meetings I went to is like, we need to have an audit committee. I'm like, okay, it's on the radar, but I have like 15 different bids coming at me, and so there are a lot of things on the radar.
I mean, do I feel confident I would pass an audit? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I got,
I don't doubt it.
the people who do the finances here, you and Bud are phenomenal. You guys are
And
phenomenal.
Chris, yeah, she had.
And Chris, they're phenomenal at their jobs.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of on those same lines, last year, but asked for a replacement, an apprentice / replacement. It is now higher on my radar, than it was last year, because I was still trying to figure out the office situation for journal entry, is what he does. And other things, other miraculous things. So if you can think of anybody that I should talk to, I'd be happy to talk to them.
For Bud.
For Bud, yes.
Okay, I'm like,
I think he's trying to figure out how to retire.
He is, and I respect that, I really do. And he's been doing a great job, and that's why it's has been a little lower on my radar.
Maybe he should fall
He's
down
doing
on
too
the
good of a
job.
job. So,
Tell him to mess up more. Bud.
yeah, really. But it is a little bit. So if you can think of somebody knows Excel, do you do Access?
I don't know what you access.
So at least is pretty proficient in Excel. That'd be great.
That's what it is.
That'd be willing to use,
That's what
you
he
know, for
uses.
free.
And then the teaching of Shepherd's staff isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Is there any other new business?
No, actually, I don't.
Well, if not, if there's no other business, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Pass your motions. Michelle seconds. All in favor, please rise.
Very fast.
All right. In the name of the Father,
and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
I thank you,
My Heavenly Father, through Jesus Christ, your dear Son, that you have graciously kept me this day.
and
And I pray that you would forgive me all my sins, where I have done wrong, and graciously keep me this night.
For
Into your hands I commend myself, my body and soul, and all things. Let your holy angel be with me, and the evil foe may have no power over me. Amen.
Very nice, everyone.